So if you bet on horse racing, you're probably familiar with the term SP, or starting price. It's the set of odds that you get before the race has actually started. If you bet on Betfair, then you will be familiar with SP as well, but it will be called BSP, Betfair SP. And a lot of people use this to design systems, look at how efficient the market is and all of these sort of things. But did you know that the Betfair SP is completely flawed? And you may actually be wasting your time looking at betting systems that are based upon BSP. And if you want to learn why that's the case, just watch the rest of this video. So for a very long period of time, SP, the starting price, was the sort of price that you would likely get if you placed a bet on a horse race. And the SP was formed by all of the activity on the racecourse. All of the bookmakers would be taking bets. They'd be trying to firm up what the price on each individual horse would be. But even back then, the price of SP wasn't exactly what you would expect.
72 in shot without a baby.
The on-course bookies make the market that the big three try to manipulate. This is Harry Boy White. He's well known at this and other racecourses, and we're going to watch him work. At last, with only minutes to go before the official off, the odds from the course come through. No mention of 20 or 14 to 1. At Ladbrokes, the size of the bet means it has to be cleared with head office.
10 to 1, number 7, Willie or won't he? It's 20 to 1, bar 6.
Why did it take so long?
Our bet has been taken, but only at whatever the starting price at the course turns out to be. As the moment for the off nears, Harry Boy White's mobile phone is again in use. In spite of the crowds around the bookies and the shove to get bets on, Harry's credentials guarantee instant service. All it takes is a word from him and the prices tumble. This manipulating of the odds downwards pays huge dividends to the big three. The odds on Willie or won't he are now a far cry from the opening 20 to 1, or even the overnight 16 to 1 forecast.
72 bar.
For Harry, the off means a job well done. The odds are down, others can watch the race.
So lots of people like to place bets at SP. If you go up to somebody and say, I'd like £10 on the favourite, then obviously that's the only decision that you need to make. You don't need to worry about the odds. And yet the odds in a horse race can fluctuate around all over the place. But if you wanted to bet seriously, you would tend to bet at a particular price. If you can get the price that you want on a horse, then you would tend to nominate that price rather than take SP. But as a consequence, a lot of people do bet at SP just because it's simple. It isn't particularly complicated. And also the advantage of betting at SP is you can place a bet at 10 o'clock in the morning and then you're going to get the price whatever it is in the afternoon. And as a consequence, Betfair decided that they needed to create their own mechanism, which was Betfair SP, which would allow you to do the same. You could turn up in the morning where typically the volumes on exchanges were pretty low. You could place a £100 bet at SP and then Betfair would resolve that bet for you as the race was about to go in play. So this was sort of Betfair's response to people being able to place a simple bet in a betting shop. You could also do it on the exchange, and that is why the Betfair SP was born.
The industry starting price is the average price of the last odds offered by on-course bookies at the start of every UK horse race. However, Betfair calculates their own starting price, known as the Betfair Starting Price, or SP. Over 90% of the time, you'll obtain a better starting price on Betfair compared to the returns industry starting price. So, for example, if we were to lay Roderick O'Connor at SP, we would specify our liability at £50. This means if Roderick O'Connor was to lose this race with an SP of 11.71, we would win £4.67 before commission. As well as guaranteeing matched SP bets, we can also set limits on our odds. This gives us more control when placing SP bets, as we can specify acceptable odds. To do this, we click the Set SP Odds Limit option. Then enter the maximum odds for lay bets or minimum odds for back bets that we are prepared to accept. Then after clicking Place Bets, our bet will be placed in the system at the odds we have specified. Should these odds not be reached, the bet will be cancelled and the money refunded to our account. The ability to specify maximum and minimum SP odds is a great way to take control over your betting. This allows you to confidently place bets at SP, knowing you'll always receive the price you want or better.
So Betfair SP was launched in December 2007 and then eventually rolled out across horse racing, and it's made its way into other sports as well. And it is a much better mechanism because you're no longer under the influence or the manipulation of the price from the major bookmakers. The spread on Betfair is much, much tighter, therefore you will get a better price. And also the other mechanisms that you've got in place, being able to back at SP, being able to lay at SP, being able to set target odds, are all things that will significantly benefit you as a punter. However, if you're looking at historical Betfair data, it's really important to understand exactly what you're looking at because there is a little flaw in the way that it's calculated that will significantly influence the outcome of any system that is referring to the Betfair SP. So it's really important to understand, despite all of its benefits, that there is a little flaw in place, especially when you're looking at historical data. So one of the interesting things about horse racing is that they never start on time. On average, they're about 90 seconds past post time, sometimes a lot longer, especially if you're at Sandown. But yeah, they never start at the advertised time. So this presents a bit of a dilemma because the on-course market will be tracking volumes and stuff. And then of course, betting dies down as we reach post time and they can generate an SP off the back end of that. But when we look at a betting exchange, the betting exchange doesn't have a cut-off at post time. The Betfair SP is actually resolved when the race goes in play. And you're sort of thinking, well, what is the problem with that? Because obviously all of those bets are matched, all of the money's in the market, and then the race turns in play. Well, this is where things begin to go a little bit wrong. And to demonstrate to you where this goes wrong, just watch this video of a race actually going in play. So you can understand what you're actually looking at here. On the bottom left here, you're looking at a real-time tracking map from total performance data with inside BetAngel. This is showing you the position of the horses on the course. On the right-hand side, we have a feed of Sky Sports Racing. And then obviously in the background and on the top, you can actually see BetAngel pulling in all of the live data from total performance data and giving you information about what's actually going on within the race. So if I unpause this picture and we go live, let's have a look at what we can see. We can see that they're off. They're off again. And they're off again. We actually have 3 different points at which the race starts. So what have we looked at there? Well, I've sort of tried to make the point here that the race actually started 3 times. The first time that it started was when we got the data from total performance data saying that the race had started. That is the most accurate because that's coming from the course a few hundred milliseconds after the race has actually started. So in the blink of an eye, we can actually see the horses jiggle and move and actually get out from that particular gate. So that is when the race truly started. Then we have a little bit of a gap until Betfair actually turned the race in play. And at the point at which Betfair turned the race in play is when they resolve the SP. And we can see from this video, and this is actually quite a favourable, I could have chosen a much worse example. You know, the amount of time here is actually relatively small. It's not always that case. Sometimes you can get quite big lags. But the gap between those two allows the horses to break, and run down the course, and therefore when you look at SP, the Betfair SP, it actually contains information about how the race started. It isn't the last traded price before the race started, it's actually as the race has started. So it contains information about how quickly the horses broke, how quickly somebody turned the race in play, all of that sort of information. Then of course we get to see the live pictures in inverted commas via Sky Sports, which will always be behind both of those things. Whenever you're looking at TV pictures, they will always be the last thing to update. So that's why we saw the race effectively go in play 3 times, when it actually went in play, when Betfair turned it in play, and when we actually saw the pictures on Sky. So to make my point really clear, there are three stages. We've got the stage where the race actually starts, then we actually see the race get turned in play, and then eventually we see the gates open on the TV pictures. So what am I saying here? Am I saying don't use SP? Well, no, actually you should be using SP because it's actually quite a useful tool. I mean, it depends what you're doing, obviously. But if you just want to place a bet on a favourite at some point over the course of a day, then SP can be surprisingly effective. If we look at the data that I'm displaying up here, this is actually looking at the overround on SP over the course of a month. And indeed, some months are below 100%. That basically means you could have backed anything at SP and you would have made money, in theory, over the course of that particular month. It's an incredibly effective and efficient way of placing a bet. But if you're looking at data and you're trying to build a system based upon something derived from Betfair SP, then that data actually contains not only what price the horse was trading at or about that time, but it also contains a little bit of information about the race as well. Did it get off to a good start or did it get off to a bad start and stuff like that? And unless if you can map that to the data, then the data loses its effectiveness completely. You're overfitting and you're creating something or a system that you simply cannot replicate in future unless if you've got that data or you can map that data onto it. And my advice to you always when you're playing around with the system where you're trying to do something is get stuck in. Now, I'm not saying use £1,000 stakes and some crazy idea you had down the pub last week. What I'm saying is you have an idea, you go into the market, you test it on small stakes, you look at that data and you sort of go, yeah, that's more or less what I was thinking, or no, that's completely different from what I was thinking. All of the best systems that I've ever created have come from active market participation. Much, much better than using historical data. So yeah, it's worth getting stuck into the market. And I do look at data, but I use that to come up with ideas or thoughts, but I actively test it as quickly as I possibly can. And the interesting thing about the betting market when we come to horse racing is everybody's focused on that post time. So I always think that the most accurate price that you can get in terms of the chance of a horse winning a race is going to be actually at post time. In front or behind of that, there is information to be discounted into the market, but at that exact point, everybody has sort of made their decision. And the further you go past post, that starts to break down a bit. And if you use SP, it's not really an accurate reflection on the very last traded price within the market, which is why I produced this video. But yeah, those are my thoughts on SP. It's an interesting concept. It's evolved over the course of the years. Just be careful how you choose to use it. So here are my final thoughts on this particular subject. It varies by course and distance. Obviously, shorter distances, it's going to have more impact on SP. But also bigger races tend to have more liquidity and more money being bet at SP. And therefore, the effect isn't as great, especially over big jumps meetings.